Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. In today's tutorial, we're going for party vibes with an almond stitch tube top dress. Textured, flattering to wear, and shockingly easy to make. Speaking of, if you're looking for more stylish yet easy makes, you are in the right place. We have hundreds of crochet tutorials and patterns with even more dropping twice weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now, it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 290 grams of yarn. That's 645 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us which you prefer, fiction or nonfiction. I am a fiction girly. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 3 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, and half double crochet. This tutorial is made for a size small. You can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this dress started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Then we're all going to grab our 5mm hook and start off by making a chain that is in multiples of 8 that starts from 1 inch underneath the underarm down to where like the bottom of this dress to be. Now I need roughly 22 inches or 56 centimeters, so I'm going to start with a chain 88 and actually already have my panels completed, so I'm just going to be doing a small sample size with you. We are back. I now have my chain. Now what we're all going to do from here is chain an additional 4. This is going to count as the base chain. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, a quick tip when it comes to doing our chain. We are going to want to use the same tension throughout the entirety of the piece, which is going to be a medium tight grip, only because the more rows we do, the more it may shrink depending on your tension. So throughout this piece, just make sure that you're measuring after every few rows to make sure that it's still the length that you need. Once we have that, we can get started on the first row. Start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain, and we're all going to start with 4 slip stitches. So into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert, yarn over, and gently pull through both loops on our hook. We want to make sure that we're not tugging too tightly, otherwise the following rows will be too tight to work into. There's our first slip stitch. We're going to be doing a total of 4. So into that following chain, insert, gently pull through 2, next chain, insert, gently pull through 2, and next chain, insert, gently pull through 2. Now we should have a total of 4 stitches completed. Then we're going to be doing 4 half double crochets. So yarn over. Into that next chain, we're going to insert, pull through 3, again, yarn over, insert, pull through 3. A third one, insert, pull through 3, and a fourth one, insert, pull through 3. And all we're going to do from here is alternate between 4 slip stitches and 4 half doubles to reach the end of the row, and everyone's last set of stitches should be slip stitches. We have made our way all the way down with our first row. Now this is going to be a 4-row repeat, so getting started on the second row in our 4-row repeat, we're going to chain 1, flip our work, and this is all going to be within the back loops. Now when it comes to doing the second row in our 4-row repeat, it's just going to be a repeat of our previous row. So, since we ended with slip stitches, we're going to start with 4 back loop slip stitches. So into that first stitch is back loop, yarn over, gently pull through everything, again, next stitch is back loop, gently pull through everything, next, pull through everything, and one more, because we all need a total of 4, pull through everything. Now from here, 4 back loop half double crochets. So yarn over. Into that next stitch is back loop with a half double, next stitch is back loop with a half double, next stitch with our third half double, and next stitch with our fourth half double. From here, continue to repeat our 4 back loop slips, 4 back loop half doubles to reach the end of the row, Again, the last set of stitches in this row should be back loop slip stitches. We made our way down with the end of our row 2. Now, the third row in our 4 repeat is now going to be the opposite from what our previous row stitches look like. So since the last set of stitches in our row 2 was slip stitches, we're now going to start the following row with half doubles. So chain 2, flip our work, and put 1 back loop half double into each of the next 4 stitches. So yarn over, into that first stitch's back loop with 1, second stitch's back loop with a second, third stitch's back loop with a third, and into that next stitch's back loop for a total of 4 back loop half double crochets, then 4 back loop slip stitches for everyone. So here is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and continue to repeat our 4 back loop halves, 4 back loop slips to reach the end of the row. This row's last set of stitches should be back loop half doubles. Our row 3 is complete, and now we're going to get started on our row 4, which will be a repeat of our previous row. So chain 2 and flip. Now since the last row ended with 4 back loop half doubles, we're going to start with 4 back loop half doubles. So here is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then 4 back loop slip stitches. And from here, continue with 4 back loop halves, 4 back loop slips to reach the end of the row. Everyone's last set of stitches for our row 4 should end with back loop halves. So we've just completed our first 4 rows. What we're going to do from here is continue to repeat these 4 rows with no increases and no decreases until we have a portion that can stretch, because remember it does have a decent amount of stretch to it, from mid underarm all the way across our chest to mid underarm. We will have to meet back right after a repeat of our row 4, but once we have that, I will meet you guys back. We are back. I've just completed 1 panel of my dress. I have a total of 44 rows. My width is 9.5 inches or 24 centimeters unstretched. Now from here, we're going to make a second panel that is exactly the same, and then once we have both panels, we can seam up the sides. We are back, and now we're going to seam the top half. But first, we need to make sure our panels are opposite from one another. So what I mean by that is taking one of our panels, we're going to take a look at this edge that we have. As you guys can see, these are back loop slip stitches. So for the other panel that we have, we want to align it with half double crochets. And we're just doing that so that the seam that we have kind of flows along this ridge that they both naturally have. Then insert our stitch marker into any stitch, making sure it's in multiples of 8, right at the thinnest part of our waist. I inserted my stitch marker into the 52nd stitch from the bottom. That's just about 10.5 inches or 27 centimeters. Be sure to remember which end is the top and which one is the bottom since they look the same, but the next thing we're going to do is seam the top half. And then once we have aligned the 2 panels together, we are then going to flip our work wrong side out. So these are my 2 panels. As an example, the right side is going to be the one that has these really nice little divots for us right here, and the wrong side is going to be the ones that have these little pockets, just like that. So we're going to flip it wrong side out so that the seam that we're about to do can be along the inside. And what we're all going to do from here is do a single crochet seam until we reach our stitch marker. So what we're going to do is pull our working yarn through and do a chain up of 1 to secure, and single crochet in through both the front and back panel at the same time. So finding that first stitch into the front panel, insert, next stitch into the back panel, insert with a single crochet. Again, next stitch into the front panel, next stitch into the back panel, single crochet. And just continue doing this until we reach our stitch marker. Once we do a chain up 1 and cut and repeat on the other side. So we are back. We have just completed seaming up the sides, and now we're going to fill in the hip portion. So what we're all going to want to do is make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up, meaning all of the seams that we just did are now along the inside. Then taking a look at the bottom is going to be where our slit is. We're going to need to take a look at our slip stitch side. Now, if you guys take a look at the bottom, our edge row is going to start with either slip stitches or half double crochets. We're going to want to insert our hook into the slip stitch side. Then from here, we're going to pull through and start with a chain 2. Now that chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, we just want the height. And from here, we're going to start with 4 back loop half doubles, 4 back loop slip stitches, making our way all the way up until we are 4 stitches right before our side seam, and then I'll meet you back. So we are back. We've made our way all the way down, leaving the last 4 stitches right before our side seam. Now everyone's last set of stitches should have been 4 back loop slip stitches. Now what we're going to do from here, it should be the same for everyone, is 1 back loop half double, then a decrease of 3 back loop half doubles. So let's get that started. We're all going to yarn over. Into that next stitch, insert with 1 back loop half double, so that's per usual. Then, since we should all have 3 stitches left, a decrease of 3 back loop halves. So into that third to last back loop, pull through, second to last, pull through, and last, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through all 5. Then from here, we're going to work our way down the other side, but we do want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into this last stitch, just so we know where the last stitch on this side of our dress is. Now I'm going to turn my work over. And from here on the other side, since we can kind of see that the last set of stitches before our seam was half double crochets, we're now going to be doing slip stitches on top of that. But we do have to start with decreases, so we're all going to start with a decrease of 3 back loop slip stitches. So how that's going to work is into that first stitch on the other side of our seam, we're going to insert, pull through. Next stitch, pull through. Next stitch, then yarn over and pull through everything on our hook. And since this is the first stitch on the other side of our seam, we do want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into there as well. Now what we're going to do after this is just 1 back loop slip stitch. Then from here, 4 back loop halves, 4 back loop slip stitches to reach the end of the row. So we are back. We have just completed this first decrease row for filling in the hip portion. Now this is going to be a 4-row repeat, so let's get started on our second row. What we're going to do from here is chain 1, flip our work, start with 4 back loop slips, 4 back loop half doubles until we have 4 stitches left, and that is including our stitch marker. So we are back and we've made our way down, leaving the last 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3. The last one is our stitch marker stitch. Now we're going to do another decrease. Now we all should have ended with 2 back loop half double crochets before we left our last 4 stitches. Now what we're going to do is 1 back loop half double and then a decrease of 3 back loop half doubles. So yarn over into that next stitch's back loop with 1 half double, then a decrease of 3. So I'm going to take this stitch marker out for now. Start with a yarn over into that next stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through, and next stitch's back loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through everything on our hook, and don't forget to insert your stitch marker into the top of that decrease. Now from here, we're going to get started on the other side. So I'm going to take this stitch marker out for now and start with a decrease of 3 back loop slip stitches. So into that first stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next stitch, yarn over and pull through everything on our hook, making sure we're inserting our stitch marker into the top of this stitch. Then after that decrease, we're all going to do 3 back loop slip stitches. So into that next stitch, there's 1, next stitch there's 2, next stitch there is 3. Then from here, 4 back loop halves, 4 back loop slip stitches to reach the end of the row. So we are back. We have just completed our second row in our 4-row repeat. Now let's do our third. Now the decreases are going to be done pretty much the same way as the first and second row. So just getting started on our third row, we're going to chain 1, flip our work, start with 4 back loop slips, 4 back loop half doubles, until we have 3 stitches left right before our stitch marker. So we are back. We made our way all the way up, leaving 3 stitches right before our stitch marker. Now, since this is a repeat of row 3, our decrease area is going to be the same as our row 1. So doing that together, it's going to be 1 back loop half double and then a decrease of 3 back loop half doubles. So yarn over into that next stitch's back loop with 1 half double. Then I'm going to take the stitch marker out for now. Then I'm going to do a decrease of 3 back loop half doubles. Then insert my stitch marker into the top of that stitch. Then working our way down the other side, we're going to do a decrease of 3 back loop slip stitches. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out for now. And into that next stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through, and next stitch, yarn over, pull through everything. Insert a stitch marker into the top of that stitch. And we're all going to do just 1 back loop slip stitch. From here, 4 back loop halves, 4 back loop slips to reach the end of the row. Now we're ready to get started on our 4th row in our 4-row repeat. So what we're going to do is chain 2, flip our work. Start with 4 back loop halves, 4 back loop slip stitches, leaving 3 stitches right before our stitch marker. We've made our way up, leaving 3 stitches before our stitch marker. Now, since this is our repeated row 4, the decrease is going to be the same as row 2. So what that's going to be is 1 back loop half double, then a decrease of 3 back loop halves. So start with the yarn over, into that next stitch's back loop with 1 half double, then a decrease of 3 back loop halves. And now that we have our decrease, we're going to insert our stitch marker into the top of that stitch. Then working our way down the other side, we're going to do decrease of 3 back loop slip stitches. And now that we have our decrease, we're going to insert our stitch marker into the top of that stitch. Then for everyone, 3 back loop slip stitches, then 4 back loop halves, 4 back loop slips to reach the end of the row. So we are back. We have just completed our first 4 hip rows. Now what we're going to do from here is continue to repeat these 4 previous rows until we have a portion that can wrap around our hip. Then once we have that, we are going to meet back so we can seam it together and then repeat on the other side. Alright, so we are back. I have just completed my hip portion. I did go ahead and do the other side already, but just counting one side, I had a total of 12 rows, and once we had that, I went ahead and seamed it up. Now the total width that I have is roughly 14 inches or 35 centimeters, but all we're going to do for our seam is the same seam that we did for the sides. So first things first, we're going to make sure that our work is slipped wrong side out, meaning the seam that we did for the side is now along the outside. Then do our same single crochet seam, making our way all the way up. When we don't have any more stitches left, repeat on the other side, and then I'll meet you back to get started on the top band. So we are back. Now that we have the hip portion all seamed up, we're now ready to get started on the top band. So first things first, making sure that our work is flipped right side up, we're going to insert our hook into any one of the side rows that we have along the top. Now from here, we're going to pull through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now what we're all going to do is, since this is worked in a 4-row repeat, we're going to put 2 single crochets into the first side half double crochet row, then 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 rows. So getting that started, since I inserted my hook nearest to my side seam, I actually have 2 side slip stitch rows to work into first. Into every side slip stitch row is just going to be 1 single crochet. So find that top loop and insert with 1. Into that next top loop, insert with just 1 as well. Then now we have half double, side slip, side slip. So like I said, into that first side half double, we're going to insert starting with 2 single crochets. So there's 1, there's 2. Then into our next side half double, insert with just 1. Next side slip, insert with just 1 again. Then next side slip with just 1. Let's do that once more. Here's my half double, slip, slip. In my first side half double, insert with 2. So there's 1, there's 2. Next side half double with 1. Next side slip with 1. Next side slip with 1. We're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way around. Now, really quick tip, once when the single crochet row is complete, this is going to be as wide as this portion can stretch. So once when it's completed, try your piece on, making sure that everything still fits. If it's a little bit too tight, redo some stitches with a looser grip, or if it's too loose, redo some stitches with a tighter grip. We are back. Our single crochet row is complete. Now from here, we're all going to make a chain the height that we'd like for the top band to be. I'd like just about 1 inch or 2 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 6. Now what we're all going to do from here is block off that last chain and do a chain 1. Into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, insert with a slip stitch, remembering not to tug too tightly. Then continue with 1 slip stitch into every chain, and I'll meet you back at the base. Now that we've put 1 slip stitch into every chain, we're going to connect it into the base. So start by finding that next available stitch and insert with a slip stitch. Now that slip stitch into the base doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then from here, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base. Flip our work and now put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So finding that first stitch from our previous row, not working into any of those slip stitches into the base, insert with 1 back loop slip stitch and continue with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Then when we reach the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch again. Now that we've put 1 slip stitch into every stitch, making our way back down, we should have a total of 3 rows. Then from here, we're going to connect it into the base again, and it's going to be done the same way as our previous row. So just finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch. That slip stitch doesn't count as a stitch. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that next stitch into the base. Still doesn't count as a stitch. Flip our work and repeat. Continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we don't have any more stitches left to work into, then I'll meet you back so we can seam it up together. We made our way all the way around with our back loop slip stitch rows, and we don't have any more stitches left to work into. So now we're going to seam it together using an outside loop slip stitch seam. So this seam is going to look like another back loop slip stitch row. So making sure that our work is slipped right side out, right side up, we're going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Then we're all going to yarn over, pull through everything on our hook, and start by finding that first available stitch into the front panel and insert only in through that front loop. Then find that first available stitch into the back panel and insert only into that back loop. Then from here, we're going to yarn over and pull through everything on our hook. Let's do that once more. Into that next stitch into the front panel, insert only into that front loop. Next stitch into the back, insert only into that back. Then yarn over, pull through everything on our hook. We're going to continue to do this until we don't have any more stitches left. When we don't, do a chain up one and cut. So now that our top band is all seamed up, we're ready to get started on the bottom band. The bottom band is going to be done pretty much the same way as the top band. So just to talk you guys through the single crochet row, we're going to make sure that our work is still flipped right side out, right side up. Then insert our hook into any one of the side rows along the bottom. Then what we're going to do is 2 single crochets into the first side half double, then 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 side rows. Then just continue doing that, making our way all the way around, and then I'll meet you back. We are back. Our single crochet row is complete. Now from here, the bottom band is going to be done exactly the same way as the top band, but the chain is probably going to be a little bit longer. So from where we're at, we're going to make a chain the length that we'd like for the bottom band to be. I'd like for mine to be just about 4 inches or 10 centimeters. So I'm going to make a chain 20, then just do my back loop slip stitch rows, making my way all the way around, and then I'll meet you back. Alright, so we are back. We have just completed the entirety of our bottom band. Now from here, we're going to seam it up the same way that we did the top band, and I went ahead and already got mine completed. So just to talk you guys through it, we're all going to make sure that our work is slipped right side out, right side up. Then we're going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel, then do the same outside loop slip stitch seam that we did for the top band. Well, we don't have any more stitches left, do a chain up one and cut. And once when that's completed, we are all done. The last thing we have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Bye.